All right, guys, welcome to the Type 1 Lifting Podcast. I have an awesome guest. She's a 3 times CrossFit athlete, an Olympic weightlifter, and a doctor at physical therapy. This is Kelly Wild. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it. I actually found you through Instagram. I don't know how I did it. I think it just came across like a search menu and I saw you. And I found out you were diabetic. So I'm like, okay, definitely got to follow that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so how's everything going in California?
It's good. It's going. We've been, well, myself and my roommates we decided to quarantine starting March 12th. So we're going on over a month of just chilling at home and trying to get creative to find things to do and stay busy. But other than that, we're healthy and the weather's super nice. So can't complain.
Yeah, so the weather in Georgia is starting to turn to like get into the 70s, so which is really nice. So, yeah. So first, I just wanted to talk about like when you got diagnosed with diabetes and like kind of like the history of that.
Yeah, so I was diagnosed in 1995. So I was 5 years old, and I'm now 30. So I've had it for 25 years now, which is crazy to think about. And my dad, at the time, my dad was a type 1 diabetic, and my mom's a nurse. So luckily they picked up on the symptoms right away. So it wasn't one of those things where it's like months of me, losing weight and like all those other like complications. They just noticed that I was really thirsty and like going to the bathroom a lot. And they're like, okay, let's just check your blood sugar. And of course it was super high. And so, yeah, got diagnosed at age 5. So, from there, I'm the youngest of 5. So all my siblings were super supportive. Obviously, my parents were super supportive. With the diagnosis, I got switched from gymnastics because all my older sisters, they did gymnastics. And so I was just, going along with what they were doing. But my parents wanted me to do a sport where my dad could keep an eye on me a little bit closer, because with gymnastics, they like move you through these levels really fast, and then you're like traveling every weekend, and like it was going to be too much, I think, for a new diabetic to handle at such a young age. So picked up hockey, picked up soccer. My dad had played hockey, but I hadn't played soccer, so he coached both of those sports for me all the way up through high school. Yeah, so it was, at the time, I was devastated having to be pulled out of gymnastics, but I think hockey was more up my alley for sure.
Very cool, very cool. So how did your family react to you being diagnosed? Even though your dad and your mom are a nurse, but they have experience. But like, how did they handle it?
I feel like they handled it as best as they could. I feel like they were more prepared than the average person with both of them have medical backgrounds. My dad's a dentist, so I think they were, yeah, like I said, better prepared to handle it, and like doing shots and management like that, no big deal for them. I gave them trouble for sure growing up. Like, I didn't like being low, so I always just ran high. And at the time, we didn't have the like continuous glucose monitors or anything like that. So I was like, okay, if I'm always nervous about being low, I'm just gonna run high and then not have to worry about it. So that definitely posed a problem for a long time. But in terms of reacting to the diagnosis, they just made it seem like it wasn't that big of a deal. Just you can still do everything you want to do. This shouldn't hold you back. We've got insulin. You can manage it independently. So they definitely didn't want me to like play the victim, and I could still do whatever I want to do, succeed in school and athletics, and so they were very supportive.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So playing with sports and diabetes. So how did your dad like kind of watch, or your mom or dad like watch you playing, or your coaches like give them the heads up, like, hey, I'm a diabetic, so here are the symptoms and what to look out for.
Yeah. I feel like I didn't try to put too much responsibility on other people to watch out for me. I always just brought, my meter and a million snacks with me, put it on the bench for every game. And I was always pretty good about, like, feeling out if I was low. Like I said before, I ran high a lot anyways. So I would just usually check, between periods or even during period, let the coach know, like, hey, I'm low, I can't go out this shift, put someone else in. And to their credit, all my coaches were very supportive, very helpful. It's funny because when I started at Ohio State, when I was getting recruited, I was super nervous about telling any coaches that I was diabetic. So I literally, I did all my recruiting visits, decided on Ohio State. Literally day one of practice as a freshman, I went to my coach's office and I was like, hey, just so you know, I'm diabetic. She's like, yeah, I know. I was just like, I was so nervous that, I'd lose a scholarship if they found out. But it worked out.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, for me, I would be super nervous. So I got diagnosed at 35, and so it's a little different. So, but like if I was, getting recruited and being like, I wouldn't want to tell either because, that can hinder you getting from like the school that you want to go to. So, I mean, that's what you think. But I mean, now with all the stuff out now, it's like super easy for them to manage and watch out for you guys too. So, all right. So how was it playing at the Ohio State for hockey?
It was a lot of fun. I'm really glad I went there because we get to play in the WCHA. So if on the men's side, that switched. I forget. Oh, Big Ten.
Yeah, Big Ten. Yeah.
Conference for the guys' side, but the women play in the WCHA. So you get to play like Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, like all of the heavy hitters. So every weekend was always a battle, and just going to Ohio State, like it's that Big Ten atmosphere, was really fun. And so another reason I chose Ohio State was because we played so many games in Minnesota, where I'm from. So I was like, okay, this is perfect. Like every other weekend, my family will be able to, come to Duluth or, University of Minnesota is right in my backyard, where I grew up. St. Cloud, Mankato, Bemidji's a little bit of a drive, but it's like my family could come to all those games. Whereas I was looking at schools out east as well, and I was like, that's kind of like, a hassle to get out east. So
yeah,
Ohio State was awesome. Loved it. We weren't super great when I played there, but we held our own. And Minnesota, Wisconsin, like I said, North Dakota, they're always top in the, what am I saying? They always win, like national championships.
Yeah, they're really good. Yeah.
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 What am I trying to say? They're really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, I remember originally from Massachusetts, and we have like the big, like obviously BC, BU, Northeastern, and like those are like stud like men's hockey teams, and the women teams are actually really good too. So it's always a battle. I love going to those games because they're always hard. So from watching them play. So after you graduated, like the Ohio State, and you finished your collegiate career. Now, what got you into doing CrossFit?
Yeah, it's funny. My high school friend's mom, she had picked up CrossFit and thought that I would like it. And so my first CrossFit classes, I went with this 45-year-old mom. And instantly was like, yeah, this is awesome. This is a perfect transition from hockey into another sport. I needed something competitive and exciting to do. I couldn't just like go to the gym and, run on a treadmill for an hour. And I needed that like group atmosphere, similar to being on like in a team sport. So yeah, I picked up CrossFit, the summer after my fourth year of college. And then I took a victory lap at Ohio State, so I couldn't play hockey that fifth year. So I started CrossFit Grandview, which is an amazing gym in Columbus. I yeah, I did my first CrossFit competition was regionals of 2013, the Central East Regionals on CrossFit Grandview's team.
Okay,
and
cool.
From there, I was just like, I was hooked.
Yeah.
Loved it. Yeah.
So how did you when did you realize when you were like doing CrossFit that you started being like, hey, you know, this could turn into something like super cool and, you know, a lot of fun?
I think once I got to CrossFit Grandview, where they had just such already a long history of success at like the games. They'd already sent teams to the games. Graham Holmberg was a co-owner, and he had already won the games in 2010 and 2011.
I think so. Yeah,
he won twice. Yeah. So I didn't really have high aspirations for myself, but Graham and the other owner, Brandon, were like, you have potential here, because I had a pretty good, you know, cardio base and strength base, and so they were really pushing for me to get ready to be on their regionals team, because they were short a couple women, and so they just like threw me onto the team. They're like, you got it, it's sink or swim, like you're on the team. And so from there, like getting that first regional competition under my belt, where actually I performed better than I thought I would, that gave me the confidence to be like, oh, okay, like this could be something good if I just put in a little bit more work and more time and develop those skills like double unders and figuring out the Olympic lift and things like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it was around 2013 after that first competition. I was like, okay, this could be good. I didn't totally crash and burn. So
did you go to regionals the first year you were on the team, or did you have to wait a little bit, or?
No, so it was like 7 months after I'd started CrossFit. I was on their regionals team.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
I mean, you know, back then it definitely wasn't as competitive as it is now, where people are like doing this full time and everything. But I'm still proud of how I did. I just remember testing our events like over and over and over again leading up to regionals, and the workout that I did, my very first workout, I still remember, was Jackie. And whatever time I was getting in training, like it was consistently, I can't remember, but say it was like 7 minutes consistently. At regionals, I think I did like 5.5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
because
so
you got that,
okay,
you got that little adrenaline rush going.
Yeah,
so yeah.
So you know, you find with athletes, they either rise to the occasion, or you know, you kind of have those mental errors and you don't do as well. And so I found that I typically step up my game.
Yeah.
When it's on the line.
Awesome.
So
what was the CrossFit Games like? Because like that was, I mean, back when I was younger. I mean, I'm 40 now, so I was like that was one of the goals I wanted to do. But obviously, I was like working full time. I was making excuses, but like, you know, I maybe could have gotten the Masters division. I don't know, whatever. But what was it like being in the CrossFit Games? And you know, obviously you were in a team of 6 compared to now it's a team of 4. But like, how was it for the 3 years you were there?
It was really fun. There isn't as much of that pressure as there is at regionals, you know, because it's like you've already qualified, you're at the game, so it's like, okay, let's just like see how we do. You know, there's nothing else to qualify for after. So in that respect, it was a lot more fun than regionals. As a diabetic, it's definitely more stressful because at regionals, just with the time constraints, most workouts at regionals are like 15 minutes tops, you know, 20 minutes tops. Whereas at the games, it's like, okay, you're going to be swimming for an hour, like, have at it. And it's, as a diabetic, with my background, it's like, I'm not a triathlete, you know, I'm not like a long distance runner. So my experience is like, okay, I'm going to go, you know, do a 2-minute hockey shift. And if I need something, like, I can just come back to the bench, check my blood sugar, take some juice, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas our very first event in the 2014 CrossFit Games was this swim event that was like an hour long. I had gotten my very first continuous glucose monitor about like a month before the games. But like being in a water event, you know, I didn't bring, you know, the whatever you call it.
Like the glucose, like the goos or whatever like that, or?
No, I didn't. I just was like, okay, like, so I'm not good at swimming anyways. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to run a little bit high. You know, I can get through an event with high blood sugar, but, you know, if I go low and I'm out in the water, like, are we going to get disqualified if I need to be picked up by, you know, whoever?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So stuff like that makes it a lot more stressful. Being at the games, I know another one in 2016, we did a team Murph. And so that one was, I think there was like an hour or some time cap. You know, we're out running, carrying someone on a gurney or whatever. You know, you run, then you do all these, basically it was like a whole hour-long event. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to wear a fanny pack, put some snacks in there. I can't remember if I like brought insulin with me or not. Had my, you know, CGM. So that worked out. That was fine. You know, not ideal to be running around with a fanny pack, but
yeah. I mean, I can picture you on the gurney, just like opening up your fanny pack, just going to eat snacks while you're like laying down there while everyone else is carrying you.
Yeah, that would have been like a great photo opportunity. Me just laying there like drinking a juice box. Yeah, keep carrying me, guys. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of like it's a challenge of doing CrossFit. Like, all the events are different, so it's like if you're preparing to do like a 1 rep max lift, you're gonna like set yourself up for a blood sugar that's different than, you know, doing an hour-long Murph event. So it's definitely challenging. Whereas with all the other sports I've done, it's like, okay, I know what is coming up if I have a 2-hour hockey practice. You know, like I know what we're doing.
Yep.
But it's okay. I think having the CGM and getting that when I did definitely helped make CrossFit a lot easier in terms of diabetes management.
Yeah. So do you think playing hockey was a huge help for like working as a team for like the CrossFit Games, like as with your team up in Grandview?
Yeah, I think so. I had always done team sports. You know, hockey, soccer. I played ultimate frisbee too in high school and a little bit in college. So yeah, I always had that like team mindset. Whereas a few other people I'd done team events with in CrossFit, they had only done individual sports, and you could definitely
yeah, you could definitely see
see the difference. So I like to think I was a good team player with CrossFit and tried to pull my own weight. I never wanted to do an individual CrossFit event. I was like, no, team, like just let me hide in the back and just put my head down and work and hope no one sees me.
Yeah. Now are you? Now I was trying to look into. Are you the only diabetic that's gone to the CrossFit Games that you know of, or I don't think there's anybody else except for you.
I can't think of anyone. Not that I've heard.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Because I was doing research like before this, and I was trying to figure out if there's anybody else that was, you know, a diabetic that's been to the games, and the only person I see is you, or there's maybe some other person on another team that was a diabetic that I don't know of, but you know,
yeah.
I mean, I thought it was interesting, so.
Yeah, I mean, you're always like noticing in warm-ups if you see another diabetic, you know instantly, and I don't recall ever seeing anyone frantically chugging juice boxes or shooting up.
Yeah.
So I definitely could be wrong, but I can't think of anyone.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, that was obviously a very cool experience going to the games. So what made you transition over from doing the CrossFit, going to the CrossFit Games to going to Olympic weightlifting? What was that like? What made you do that switch?
Yeah, after 5+ years of CrossFit, my body was just like, yeah, you're not made for this right now. So I was kind of tired mentally of like, having to red line every single day.
Mm-hmm.
CrossFit's so intense all the time. So I was tired in that sense. And in the same sense, I had, a labral tear in my shoulder, probably a labral tear in my hip as well. So like leading up to the 2017 CrossFit Games, I was like training very minimally because I was having to work around these injuries. And it was just like it was a cycle of like, okay, we'll take a month off just to like try to rehab and then jump back into full go CrossFit. And then I was like, okay, we got to reel it back again. So I was just like, I was tired of dealing with these injuries. And my CrossFit coach at the time, he was he loves weightlifting, Olympic weightlifting. He's like, you'd be great at it. And I was like, no, I'm scared of competing by myself in that aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's why you should do it. If you're afraid of it, you got to do it. And I had always loved the barbell movements. Like, I like lifting heavy things.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the main reasons that I switched.
Very cool. And then how did you get in contact with like California Strength and was like pretty much moved over there from Ohio?
Yeah, so I did Grid, if you remember that.
Oh, I do remember that. Okay, yeah.
So in 2016, I got picked up by the LA Reign team.
Okay.
And Rob Blackwell was on the team, and he is a Cal Strength OG weightlifter.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, I was kind of getting tired of CrossFit and was leaning more towards weightlifting. So in that like month-long Grid season, I hung out with Rob a lot and made him help me with like technique work and all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, you're pretty good. Your technique's pretty shitty, but you're strong and you should come out to Cal Strength and lift with us. And so I was always in like the back of my mind. I was finishing up physical therapy school. Well, I was kind of like in the middle of physical therapy school at the time. But I believe I took just a weekend-long visit out to California to see Cal Strength in like the fall of 2016. So I just did like a couple lifts with them, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, especially if I'm going to transition to just weightlifting, like this is the environment that I need to kind of like push myself. So yeah, once I graduated PT school in, the spring of 2018, I applied for a bunch of physical therapy jobs out in California, took a visit out here, did some interviews, did all of the BS paperwork to get certified as a PT in California. And yeah, I've been out here since, I think, like the summer of 2018.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's long story of how I got hooked up with California Strength.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So what's the environment like at like Cal Strength? Is it like just get stuff done, or like you do have some like joking around, or like what is it like over there?
There's definitely a lot of joking around. It kind of depends on like the time of year too, because every like January they bring in like college football players to do like their NFL combine prep training. So it's like for 3 months you've got these like 15, 20 college football guys in their training. So that definitely brings like a different energy, and you can see the weightlifters want to like impress them. So like everyone steps their game up around that time.
Yeah.
And then the level of seriousness definitely kind of ebbs and flows with what Wes Kitts, what he's preparing for. So like leading up to big competitions, usually like it's more serious during those training sessions and really focused. But overall, there's a lot of joking. There's really good energy though. So it's like, it feels easier to hit big lifts when you've got all these other weightlifters around, like cheering for you, yelling, and Dave watching is scary, but it's good because you want to impress him.
Yeah.
he just always looks like he's eternally disappointed in us. You're just like, please just be happy with this one lift, you know. No, but he's great though. He's got so much knowledge, and just he's got a good way of giving different cues to people to help you kind of like figure out how to move a little bit better, a little bit differently. So yeah, the energy, if you're just looking to hit some heavy weights and work on your weightlifting, and it's the perfect place.
Yeah. And what is like a typical cycle for you? Is it because I know obviously with the COVID-19 going on, you really don't have any competitions lined up right now. Like I don't think you do, and so because it's up in the air. So what are the cycles like now? Is it like kind of like a maintenance phase, or is it kind of like or just still trying to build strength?
Yeah. So I just finished up like a strength cycle. I think it was 4 weeks long, and then I'm on the same program that everyone on the elite cycles on. So it's kind of like a high intensity, relatively low volume cycle. It's the one that Wes just ran through as kind of like a prep leading up to as if Tokyo was happening. So right now it's nice because it's not nice that I'm not working, but like it's nice that I have all this time to focus on technique. So for me personally, like the percentages that we're hitting in this cycle are really high, but then I've got these additional training sessions that I wouldn't normally have to just really work on technique. Because I've got a lot of strength, and so I should be hitting higher numbers than I am. So I've got all this time to work on technique right now, so that's really what I'm focusing on. So I'm not thinking quite as much about I've got to hit this weight, but rather, okay, we can take it down a couple kilos and make it look really good. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now in my makeshift garage gym.
Yeah, I've been watching your Instagram stories, and like you see, like I bet you like everyone's looking at you like what's going on, because you have the garage door open and like the two mats and the stands, and they're like, the hell's this girl doing? Like what is that? What is this?
I know. I've got a lot of like older neighbors, and they're always out in their yards, and I'm just like, I hope they're just like, and I've got my music on. I don't think it's too loud, and I don't feel like the weights dropping are too loud. I'm just glad they haven't like complained and made me stop lifting because it's loud and obnoxious. But yeah, people definitely go by and they're doing a double take and
Awesome. So how is it working as are you working as a physical therapist now, or just mainly doing like weightlifting, and what's like, how do you manage like weightlifting and working at the same time?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. So I work, pre-coronavirus, I work full time. So I'm working 40 hours a week at an outpatient orthopedic clinic. So that's, your typical physical therapy. If you have knee pain or you are coming back from shoulder surgery, you're going to come see me. So yeah, I'm working full time, and then I train 5 days a week after working. So, I work 8 to 10 hours a day typically, and then head right to the gym after that. And then basically by the time I get home, it's 8:30, eat dinner, go to bed. So it's a lot. My schedule is packed. So I only get five training sessions in a week, whereas everyone else on Elite is doing like 8 or 9 sessions. So I try to make the most of my time at the gym because, I don't have the time to screw around. It's tiring for sure. And being a physical therapist, it's hard physically. You do a lot of manual work, or at least I do. So my body's already tired coming into the gym. But it's just, you get used to it. It's the same thing as being like a student athlete. You're going to school full time, and then you go to the gym or practice, and you have your games, and then you go home, eat, go to bed. So it's kind of like been my schedule since high school. So you just get used to it. But it's definitely been nice having this month-long break.
Yeah.
To just kind of be like feel like a professional weightlifter, even though I'm not being paid to weightlift.
Yeah. I mean, you're almost there, so I mean, you're getting close, right?
We'll see. We'll see. With I'm down a weight class, so once we're back to actually competing, we'll see.
Yeah. So for the newbies that don't know what like the Olympic weightlifting's all about, can you like kind of tell them like the weight classes and like all that, like how it works, like if you're at a meet?
Yeah, for sure. So you compete against people who weigh roughly the same as you, which is great. So, and everything's in kilos, not pounds. So you got to kind of do the conversions there. But for myself, I'm a 59 kilo lifter now, which is like 128 pounds. And they go up roughly by 5 kilos. So you got to make weight for each meet. You weigh in 2 hours before. And then at a meet, you get 3 attempts at the snatch lift to hit the most you can. And then you get 3 attempts at clean and jerk to lift the most you can. And then you add up your best snatch and your best clean and jerk to get your total. And if you have the highest total, you win.
Very cool. I mean, that's pretty easy about that. Awesome. So I know you have an ebook out, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know you're big on mobility, and what have you seen on like your typical gym goer, like what mobility issues that they have and what they can fix so they can get like better movement on like working out?
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of things. But the main thing is, I would say a lot of people spend all day sitting, working on computer, or working at a desk. So you get your hip tightness with that, and then you get this like rounded, like forward shoulder posture.
Mm-hmm.
So like shoulders get tight. Everyone's got anterior, stronger muscles in the front, like chest and pecs are super tight and strong versus like your back muscles. They're a little bit weaker typically. So you have those imbalances a lot of times with people. And so when you ask them, after they've been sitting all day working at a desk to hit a 1 rep max snatch where you need maximum total body mobility and stability, it's like you run into some problems there trying to just get like a barbell overhead and in a good position. It's definitely challenging for a lot of people. So that's why I wrote, I've actually got 4 ebooks out right now focusing on shoulders and hips. And you either see like the people that are super tight, with their shoulders, or you've got those people who are hypermobile and need that stability. So each book is either a stability or a mobility focused book. And then so we're doing shoulders and we're doing hips because those were the 2 that I really wanted to hit hard, because that's, in my experience, that's what I've seen are the main issues for people.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Yeah. So how long do you typically like do mobility like every day for yourself?
Yeah. So I warm up. I mean, if I'm on it and I'm moving quick, my warm up takes about 30 minutes, but it can be upwards of like 45 minutes of warming up and mobilizing. And then afterwards, usually I come home, eat, and then like to help me like wind down, I'll do usually like a 20 or 30 minute, just kind of more passive stretching.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm naturally tight, and like hockey set me up to have really tight upper back, shoulders, ankles, hit, like everything. Going from hockey to CrossFit and weightlifting is like the worst.
Yeah. Well,
because
in hockey you're like hunched over pretty much with the hockey stick, and then your ankles are pretty much non-mobile because of the skates and everything like that. So, I mean, I would think you might have tight hamstrings too because you're just like running around and like all those like constant movements and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
literally, like, it's taken me so long, and it's so funny because now I get messages from people like, "Oh my gosh, your mobility's so good. I'm so jealous." I'm like, it's still not great, and it has taken so long to get it to come around and to loosen up. But yeah.
So and you also do mobility classes too, like online. If you go to our Instagram page, she has a list like on her bio. There's a link to take those mobility classes. So what are like a typical day, typical class for you for that?
Yeah, so we started that. I'm kind of doing it through Cal Strength. We started it once the coronavirus thing came through and people are stuck at home. So you don't need any equipment. You just need some floor space. And they're quick 30-minute sessions. And we're not just doing like passive stretching because that really doesn't do a whole lot for you. But they're more like active stretches. So we're using your muscles. Your muscles are engaged to move into greater range of motion. So it's not your typical, like, nothing against yoga, because yoga is great and, so many people love it. Yoga's not for me, so it's not like a yoga class. So I am usually, like, breaking a sweat during it. Mm-hmm. So you're definitely moving, and it's a bit of a workout, but we're just working into control into greater ranges of motion. So I've gotten really good feedback. I like it. It's a good session for me, at least.
Yeah.
So it's just a nice way to move a little bit,
Yeah. So it's not like ROM Water, or like any of those like Go Water or anything like those kind of programs.
No, I don't think so. We're doing like PNF type stuff where you're actively engaging your muscles and then relaxing. And I bring in a lot of like PT techniques, just to and techniques that I've found that will maximize your ability to move into those greater ranges of motion. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's different. Yeah. Very
cool. Awesome. And I have one last question. Actually, two last questions. So you're wearing your goat hat, correct?
I am, yes.
Yeah. So there's a hat on the Cal Strength website, right? On the shop page, or is it Caffeine and Kilos?
So our goat hats are sold out right now, but I'm thinking about bringing them back because they were a success. It's on the Cal Strength page. We've got goat tank tops out right now.
Okay.
They're for women. I guess guys could wear it, but it's a crop tank top with the goat on it, and so they're still available. But I think I have to do another run of the hats because I like it.
Yeah. So what's the goat? Like, are you a fan of goats, or like how did that come up? Or
that's a good question. It started as like a joke back home with a couple of friends at my CrossFit gym back in Minnesota. They started calling me the diabetic goat. I think in reference to like goat being greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I think they were just calling me that because I was probably the best diabetic CrossFitter at the gym. They were like, it was probably just me there.
Yeah.
So it was a joke. But I kind of liked the idea. And then it somehow transitioned into Cal Strength too. Mm-hmm. And it picked up there as well. So I was like, well, it'd be kind of cool to, brand it. And the idea, not that I am the greatest of all time at literally anything, but the diabetic goat idea is like, okay, you don't have to be the greatest, but at least whatever your passion is or whatever you're trying to, work towards, just put in all of your effort and just try to be the best version of yourself that you can be. Mm-hmm. So that's the idea. I'm not trying to be cocky and call myself.
Well, you can be cocky once in a while, right?
Every once in a while.
Yeah.
But not on like Simone Biles. She's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And then
true.
Kind of emulating them and how much effort and work they put in.
Yeah. You
can put in the same amount.
Yeah. So how did the logo come up? Did you design that, or did you have the guys from?
I had like an idea, and actually, the Cal Strength media guy, his sister is like an artist, so I sent her some kind of like mock-ups of what I wanted it to look like, and she made some tweaks, and yeah, so I had the ideas, but I'm not a good artist by any means. So she understood what I was going for, and I love how it turned out.
Yeah, it looks great. I've seen the hats, and they're amazing. So I mean, if another round comes up, I'm definitely in on that. So yeah.
Okay, I'll send you one.
All right.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. So I forgot to ask you what insulin are you on? You're not on a pump or anything like that, right?
No, I have never tried the pump. So I'm on Humalog for my short acting, and then Tresiba for my long acting. So used to be on Lantus. Tresiba is a million times better than Lantus in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I've always just done injections. I don't know.
Yeah.
My A1C, my last A1C was 5.3. So I'm like, if it ain't broke,
don't fix it. Yeah.
Don't fix it.
Yeah,
so,
that's amazing. Yeah. So, and you're on a CGM still, correct? So
yeah.
How does like your weight belt? I don't know where do you put it? So like I don't know. Like 'cause a lot of people put it on their waist. So I don't know, how would your weight belts?
I've done it. So typically I put it like on my lateral, like butt hip area. That's where I've had the best readings, and I can get the longest lifetime out of the sensor. And that doesn't, it doesn't impede me at all. It sticks pretty good. I usually use like an overlay patch thing, but I've done it on my stomach before. With CrossFit, that's dicey for sure, because if you're doing like bar muscle ups and it's on your stomach, like that thing is probably going to come right off. But for weightlifting, it's been okay. Like usually I'll just put my belt like directly over it, so it kind of just lays flat against it, but it has gotten a little uncomfortable at times.
Yeah.
So definitely like site of preference, even though Dexcom doesn't recommend it, is like the lateral hip butt area.
Yeah. I've never had a CGM or like a pump or anything like that, because obviously my deductible, I've never hit my deductible, so it's like I'm not.
You don't have a CGM?
No, I've been a diabetic for, I think,
oh my God,
August will be 5 years, and I don't have a CGM. I've literally pricked my finger like 5 times a day. And luckily,
you don't want one?
Well, no, I would like one, but I don't hit my deductible, so I don't know. It costs so much money to get one for me, so I haven't had the chance to get it. So, and I lied. So I did have a CGM for a hot minute. I had the Freestyle Libre, and I absolutely hated it because I put it on my arm, and what it would do is it looked like a roller coaster. It would go high and then like low, and then there'd be like 120 point differences between pricking my finger in the sensor, and like what I would do is like 10 minutes later I'd check it again and it'd still be high, so I'd take more insulin and then realize like I'll just like bottom out and get stressed out the whole time. So I don't know. Maybe it was just like the wrong spot, because I did it like right on like the tricep of my arm.
I don't know how people use that spot. I've tried that once or twice, and it's just like it comes right off. And I had the same issue. Like numbers weren't as accurate as when it's on my hip.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do that. Like I don't know if I'm doing it wrong. It never stays.
Yeah.
It never stays on my arm.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't mind trying like the hip area. I mean, maybe that might work, but I don't know. I just need to wait till I hit the deductible and go for one and just see what happens. So yeah.
For me I initially didn't like it because it just like I was just checking it all the time.
Yeah.
It gave me like anxiety almost having it, but now even in like the couple hour window when you have to like change a sensor, I'm always just like, what's my number? What's happening? I could be high right now. Like it's been such just like now it keeps my anxiety down for sure.
Yeah.
Like I love mine. They're so expensive though.
Yeah.
For a minute, Costco had the Dexcom transmitters. You could get 2 for like $40.
That's a good deal.
Then I think they were thinking that people would get it but then also like buy the sensors themselves.
Yeah.
But like for me, I just like bought a couple of the transmitters, and yeah, I don't think they offer that anymore. Unfortunately, because like the transmitters, I forget how much the transmitters are, but $40 for 2 transmitters.
Yeah.
Like,
that's pretty good. And it's amazing, like, since being in quarantine at my house, my numbers have been like amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah, like it's insane. Like I'm like I just talked to my endocrinologist yesterday. He's like, maybe you should just work from home for the rest of your life. And I'm like, yeah, maybe, but I don't think it's gonna happen. But I've been in like the 100s to like 170s, and then like I maybe had like a couple lows here and there, but not much at all. So and it's crazy. And then like since working from home, I can only work out at night. So like from like 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm like working out, and so that kind of helps me out with my blood sugars, like when I go to sleep and everything. So,
right.
Yeah, so I'm pretty psyched about that. So
that's good. I feel like either people will go have similar experience to what you're having, or else it'll go the other way. Like being home all the time, it's like you just have this, access to snacks, and you can just eat whatever, whenever.
Yeah.
And so, 5+ years ago, that would have been me for sure, just snacking all day.
Yeah. So. Oh, I forgot to ask you. So, what's your what do you do for like eating wise, like throughout, like wait for your weightlifting? Are you trying to were you trying to gain weight for a little while, or like what were your like eating habits like?
Yeah. So I had surgery about a year ago, and prior to that, I was in the 64 kilo weight class. So at that weight class, I could pretty much eat whatever I wanted, and I'd sit around 65, 66 kilos. So, like, growing up from day one, I was always eating so many carbs, just like, I don't know what it is with, like, the, soccer and hockey. It's like, oh, you got to fuel up with all these carbs. So it's like, I grew up eating, like, pasta, cereal, just bread on bread on bread, just carb-heavy diet. And so that kind of just, like, was how I had always eaten. And then, so about a year ago, when my coach was like, you got to cut to 59 if you want to be competitive. So with that weight cut, I now sit at, like, 60 kilos. And what I did was I cut out bread. Typically don't eat breakfast. Basically, I've cut out as much processed food as I can. So I'm eating, like, Brussels, I pretty much eat the same thing every day. Like, I don't really get tired of eating the same thing. If it's easy to make, that's fine. I'm in. So I do a lot of just, like, baked chicken. I do baked sweet potatoes. That's, like, my main carb. It's from sweet potatoes. And then I got an air fryer, which is, like, a game changer because I hate cooking. Mm-hmm. So Brussels sprouts, mushrooms, broccoli, just load up on vegetables and as much like either like ground turkey. I try to avoid ground beef, like the red meat. I have high cholesterol. So basically my diet, like I cleaned out all of like the processed carbs for the most part. So like, used to, after, working out and eating dinner, it's like, chips and guac, let's do that. So I don't really do that anymore. No bread. So lots of vegetables, lots of just like lean meat. Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to, whatever I put into my body, I try to make it as nutritious as possible. Yeah. So it brings some value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I eat almost the same thing every day, and I don't get bored of it. Like I've been eating the same breakfast for the past like 4 years, and it's just like, my wife's like, "You're not bored of that?" And I'm like, "No, because it's easy and it takes 2 minutes to make, and then I'm good to go." So like,
and then if you eat the same thing, you can way more easily predict how your blood sugar will respond to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, eating something crazy every now and then, it's great, but it's just like knowing how you can predict how your body will react to it. It's just like that's the way to go for me, at least. Like, it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah, I agree. My wife's like, I don't know why you do this? Like, don't you want to like change it up a little bit? I'm like, yeah, that's for dinner. But I have like a meat, carb, and like some vegetables, and that's it, you know. And like on the weekends, I'll cook pancakes for like the kids and her and I and stuff like that. And that's it. So maybe we'll go out to dinner for something like that. But yeah, it's the same thing every single day, even for lunch too. So it's like, it's easy. So,
yep, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
I've been eating the same thing, the same basically 2 meals for the last, like 8 months. It's like, if it's easy and, I mean, it tastes fine to me. I don't know, you just dump some salsa on it and good to go.
Or cheese, whatever, so.
Yeah. I wish. That was the other thing I cut out. No dairy. Well, I eat eggs, but no milk, no cheese, none of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, very cool. So, all right, now this is the last question. Okay, for real. Okay. So, what would you tell a person that got recently diagnosed with diabetes?
Ooh. What would I tell them? It's a lot of things. How long did it? No. I would tell them to get a CGM for sure if they can swing it, because that, honestly, for me, that's been the single biggest game changer for me. Get a CGM, and I would say clean up your diet, because that makes, like what we were just talking about, it makes everything so much easier.
Yeah.
What else? No one's a perfect diabetic, that's for sure. You can plan as best you can, everything down to the T, diet, exercise, sleeping, you control your stress, all that, and you're still going to have days where it's like, why am I 250 right now? Like, so, especially for me being like more of a type A person, where it's like I want to control everything and like know what is happening and why it's happening, and you know, you just got to let those days go, and just you got to roll with the punches sometimes. And it's a disease that takes constant kind of like daily management. There are no days off, but at least it's with the creation of synthetic insulin, like it's not a death sentence. So you just got to be a little bit more disciplined than the average person, but you can definitely do whatever you want with your life and independently manage it. You know, it's like for a cancer patient, it's kind of out of their control, you know, ultimately what their outcome is. But with diabetes, it's totally in your control.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, where can people reach out to you or like, you know, connect with you through social media?
I feel like Instagram right now is my biggest way to connect with people. I think I should know, I think my handle is KellyWild8.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's kind of funny. So I feel like it's been a combination of turning 30 and being in quarantine for 30 plus days, but I started a blog.
Okay.
As of yesterday.
Okay.
And so that is type1athlete.com, and the 1 is spelled out.
Okay.
So I'm kind of trying to combine everything we talked about, really, like my experience with being an athlete, nutrition, a physical therapist, kind of like combining all of my passions and what I feel like I can contribute to the diabetes community, in terms of like education and, hey, at least this is what my experience was. I'm by no means an expert, but you know, I've got 25 years under my belt. So
yeah,
just trying to provide a little bit of information, especially with those who are more active and into athletics. Like I feel like there's a little bit lacking in that area. With the presence of diabetic athletes.
I totally agree. Yeah. I would write a blog myself, but my reading comprehension's so bad that like my wife, because I have a learning disability, so it's like I have a learning disability and it's reading comprehension. So if I write something out, I write the way I talk, and my wife reads it, like tries to proofread all my stuff, and she's like, even my Instagram post, she's like, Jesus, this is so bad. Let me just start over again. And
that could just be like your style.
Well, yeah, I know that, but like it's not like the way it's supposed to be written out, and it sounds like and like there's sometimes I reread it that like later on, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I wrote that. But it's just the way I do it. So I think my wife wouldn't be really appreciate me like handing her my stuff like long long blog and be like can you proofread this, and she'd be like no I'm done.
Oh, yeah, I am by no means a good writer. I wouldn't say. Like, it's funny because in college, you sign up for classes, then you go the first day and you get your syllabus, and I would literally, if I saw the syllabus and it was like, you got to write these papers, like your grade is based on writing papers, I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't write.
Yeah.
So this will definitely be a challenge for me, but I'm excited to try. I think I had my roommates read a few of my posts. I've already got some posts up, and they liked them.
All right, that's good.
A couple grammatical errors, but I think you could at least read it and understand for the most part what I'm trying to say. So
yeah,
like I said, I'm no expert.
Yeah, well, that's very cool. Yeah, well, I listen. I really do appreciate you being on my podcast. Actually, to be honest with you, I've been wanting to do this for a while, interviewing you. So, because I thought it was like so cool.
Thank you.
Being the three times like CrossFit Games athlete, now an Olympic weightlifter, and so yeah, I was really excited when I was actually really a little nervous, just starting, because I started the Zoom thing like 10 minutes before like us like talking and you signing on, and I'm like, okay, let's go. What should I do? So.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I really do appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope I kind of get long-winded sometimes when we start talking about diabetes. So hopefully my train of thought made sense.
No, it did. Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you again for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah. All right.